Keela, thank you for putting your email in there too. Keela is one of our Project Rebound members, but also a Cal State LA student, which I think is great. So she's here with us tonight. Let me go ahead and oh great, this is cool. Okay, we're gonna start in a couple more minutes, just letting some people in. Caitlin, thank you. This is great. Julio, welcome. If you need a class, look me up, I swear. I'm in the history department. Dr. Pugash too, you know, just in case, but welcome. I'm so glad. This is great and everything. I appreciate you being here. Caitlin, thank you. Juanita, thank you. Thank you. I sent the flyer to Latin American Studies. I love Dr. Verba and of course, Dr. Enrique Ochoa too. We appreciate him as well. Let me let her in. Okay, we're gonna start in one more minute. Just let some people in, get us organized. Let me go ahead and drop the program into chat. We're going to start first with Anthony Garcia, who is the program coordinator for the Leaders Academy at the Los Angeles Regional Reentry Partnership. So he's going to start off and talk about his involvement with this project that included also our Mervyn M Dymally exhibit. And then we're going to hear from Summer Brantner, who is a program director at Project Rebound as well. Okay, let me let Sharon in. I haven't seen her. Thank you, Louise, for joining us. I appreciate this. Thank you, Jane, for introducing yourself. I appreciate this. Let me let Amalia in, and Calvin, I think, is one of my students. This is fabulous. Okay, all right, let's get started. Thank you guys so much for our opening ceremony of the Public Memory Project Archive, which was a collaborative effort between the Los Angeles Regional Reentry Partnership and also Project Rebound at Cal State LA, the History Department, as well as Special Collections and Archives at the Cal State Library. This exhibition that you're going to see tonight is a living archive, meaning that we are still working on this. You know, there's players and different segments of this exhibit that still need to be developed. But the main point is that we wanted to give space and amplify the voices of incarcerated and formerly incarcerated individuals and capture their narrative to build an archive. My co-host Azalea Camacho is with us tonight. And she is the college archivist for the Special Collections and Archives at Cal State LA. And she was also the organizer for this public memory project. So she will be speaking in a couple of minutes about just the vision really and the mission of what Cal State and the college archives is attempting to accomplish. So we thank you for sharing space with us tonight. And with that, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Anthony Garcia, from the Los Angeles Regional Reentry Partnership. Thank you so much, Anthony, for sharing space with us tonight. Hi, Calvin, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dennis, and welcome everybody to the Public Memory Project. So my name is Anthony Garcia. I'm the program coordinator at LARP. I oversee the Leadership Training Academy. So I'm just going to talk about LARP real quick. LARP is a network of public, community, and faith-based agencies and advocates working together to ensure that our reentry systems meets the needs of our agencies, communities, and the people we serve, both in terms of capacity and public policy. The mission for LARP here is to support the development and implementation of a comprehensive, cultural, competent, and effective community reentry system by providing a strong community voice in public policy and funding decisions, by serving as a convener of reentry service providers, advocates, and other stakeholders, and by also building capacity across the county to meet the needs of the reentry community. So I mentioned real briefly about the Leadership Training Academy, which is the project I oversee. The Leadership Training Academy is a project funded by CCJBH, who is a Council on Criminal Justice and Behavioral Health. And its purpose is to provide capacity to those that are formerly incarcerated, the people who have been closest to the problem, but furthest away from the solutions since the beginning of this problem. LARP divides these 12 individuals into 3 teams, which is integrated health, education, and employment. They all have lived experience and they are all change agents in their own way. They're already active leaders in our community. By putting together such a powerful group of people, you know, we've managed to make strides, progressive strides in efforts. Their role has impacted the community and the peers in many ways. Just to give some examples, the leaders are actually asked to give provide issues that actually impact them directly while they're incarcerated or directly while they're in the reentry transition phase upon release from prison. So upon them providing these issues, LARP then was able to position themselves to scout out the bills that were currently in the last legislative cycle. By doing so, we've identified 15 bills that actually we co-sponsored, and 8 of those 15 were passed. And that was thanks to the leaders' efforts that they gave. Just to give a quick overview of what some of those bills entail, AB 717 by Stone, which expands the eligibility for the people that are inside to actually have action to get a California state ID issued to them before release. Prior to this assembly bill, it was a very challenged system in place to provide the individuals coming home a California state issued ID. Now this assembly bill allows the DMV and CDCR to actually work together and make that a possibility before they come home. Another one is Senate Bill 416, which requires CDCR to make programming eligible to all people, not just a limited few, but to all of them, and specifically in education. These education institutions that are providing this service inside need to be accredited. So therefore, they have validity. When they come out, they could transfer their units out, and they have actual classes or courses or certificates from a recognized accredited institution. Another one I'd like to briefly touch on is AB 292 by Stone, which requires CDCR to prioritize those that are already programming and transfer to another facility to further support that transfer, but also continue programming effectively. So these are just a few bills that I'd like to mention that made a direct impact to the people inside and out here, coming from those voices that are impacted by this justice system. I'm going to touch on myself real briefly. I am too system impacted. I served over a decade in prison. And while I was inside, I educated myself. I sought higher education. I sought a higher power. I really wanted to change my life. So I therefore began the journey. Throughout my journey, I realized that there was a lot of barriers and challenges in place. And I told myself that when I come home, no matter what I did, I was going to make an effort to make sure that it becomes easier for the people that are still inside and those coming home. So that's the journey I'm on today. I self-educated myself in finance and gave my full focus present day to social services to make sure that I give back to my community and also be part of this change, the systemic change that's going on right now. So I thank you all very, very much for this, for you all to be here. This program, this public memory project has actually been a very, very impactful one to myself and to the population I come from and to the community as a whole. This came about from last year's event that we put together that was a collaboration with Cal State LA and the Dymally project and LARP, where we came together and they provided capacity to us, and I mean us that are lived experience, to tell our stories, and that left an impact. So from there birthed the Public Memory Project. And I'm very honored and proud to be part of this. Thank you very much, Dr. Dennis, for the time, and hopefully you guys enjoy this.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm so grateful for your experience and your guidance on this project. So I'm so excited. We are planning an event with LARP in spring to talk about the impact of these bills that were really supported and really developed by the leaders, program in LARP. So stay tuned for that. I wanted to introduce you to Summer Brantner, who is our director of Project Rebound at Cal State LA. She's also my colleague and my friend, and we have been vibing together for almost 7 years at Cal State. And I'm very honored and grateful to share space with her and to, again, collaborate with her on this project. Summer, please.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis. Has it been that long?
Yes, girl.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's nuts. Thank you so much for having me here and having Project Rebound share space with y'all. It's been a pleasure. I guess I can tell you a little bit about the program. Project Rebound was founded in 1967 by a fellow named John Irwin. He was formerly incarcerated, just like I am, just like my friends are. And he saw that there could be another way and really felt that higher education had the ability to transform lives. So he went to the university, he got a PhD, sociology, ended up at San Francisco State University, and he created Project Rebound to be a place to do just that. And fast forward to, I don't know, about, gosh, I think 2016, 2017, they began an expansion from San Francisco State to see if other universities were willing to take the charge. And Cal State LA was one of the first 9. Since then, the program has grown to encompass 14 different Cal States, and it continues to grow. What we do is a wraparound services. We get in where we fit in, and we make sure people are taken care of. And that's really where, we support them from, let me back up, from incarceration through letter writing, help them with transfer plans if they're ready then. Otherwise, we get them into the community college as soon as they get out, and we want to get them there as quick as possible. And really focus on the each one, teach one. If you can see yourself in me, then more power to you. It's going to make my job a whole lot easier, right? And our recidivism impacts is just phenomenal. The higher you are on your education, the less likely you are to recidivate, and that's just good for everybody. But that kind of brings me to how we ended up here. Dr. Dennis had sought Project Rebound out to consult on the Mervyn Dymally project, and in doing so, it kind of spoke to me because it's something I had been thinking about. We answer an immense amount of letters, and I've always felt bad because I don't know what to do with them all. We digitized right away when I came on board. So we scan everything, we keep everything, but we've just got letters and letters and letters. And that's really important artifacts, I mean, somebody's heart and soul are on these letters. And so I'm really connected to that. And so an archive just always made sense, right? So when we were working on the Dymally project, I got together with Jeff. You'll hear from him in a little bit. But I was like, this could really be an opportunity right here. Maybe we need to see what's up with that. And so out of that, there you go. Like Anthony said, here comes the Public Memory Project, and a space for people whose voices go unheard. And really the stories are not told accurately, they're told for them. So to get the history straight and get the story straight, I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to bring to light what's really going on, because it's important that everybody knows. So that's a little bit about Project Rebound and how we ended up here. And I'm a 2-time alum of Cal State LA. I'm currently working on my EDD at Bakersfield. And I love education. It's what I do. It's my thing. So I'll leave it at that. So thanks for listening to my story. And I think that my buddy Jeff here has something to say about a little bit more about how this project got started. What's up, Jeff?
Hi, Jeff. Thank you.
Nice. Thanks, Summer. Hi, Dr. Don. Yeah, so going back to the letters. Oh, it's been a crazy day. Someone just came home from Lancaster, and they'll talk to us about the COVID-19 situation there. So they got their meal with their wife and a new outfit, and an amazing narrative to share with us. So, but yeah, let's go back to the beginning of this. So yeah,
well, let's hear who you are first, Jeff.
Jeff Stein. I'm Project Rebound Communications Specialist. Finishing grad school, I started at the BA program in Lancaster when I was in the can, and I just hit the ground running as soon as I got here through Project Rebound and Words Uncaged, and just networking with everybody. I found my voice, and I found that I was good at some things besides doing wrong, and I should be teaching my first public speaking classes here in January. So there's that. But I also like to volunteer at the El Sereno Community Garden. So if anyone's interested in that, there's some amazing stuff going on there. And they just gave me my own plot finally after a month. So I'll be planting organic, non-GMO food for definitely Cal State LA students and anyone else who wants pull one off the vine. Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, gardening is a passion of mine. I think it's resilient, and I think it takes us back to something we're missing in life. But so this project, someone approached me, I think in April of last year, with Dr. Dennis's proposal, and you know, she mentioned we get hundreds of letters from the inside every month, and more and more as time's gone on, it's helped Project Rebound grow from 18 people to over 80. We're helping them get on their academic journey on that side of the wall, and so they can continue it when they get here, succeed in life, and become the best version of themselves. So I just piggybacked our project onto what we were already doing. So we created a really basic flyer and sent it from Pelican Bay to Calipatria, and just about any facility you can think of, even the women's. And you know, for a few weeks it was crickets, and I was like thinking, oh my God, you know, we're not going to hear from anybody. And then the floodgates unloosed, and when we began to get so much mail, so many COVID stories, it was like a backpack full for several weeks in a row. And you know, I couldn't process the way we do normal academic related Project Rebound mail, because you'd get a few lines into these person's lived experience and you could feel it in your body. It was that like riveting. And yeah, I had to set it aside and ask for lots of help, because there's no way I could handle that myself. So Kevin, Summer, and Dr. Don and everybody took a lot of that burden off my hands, and just, you know, help me catalog it and help me make sense of it, and help you know, just kind of share that with the, you know, community. And yeah, it was just amazing. And I'm still getting letters. I'm still getting letters too. So we do have someone who can put a human face on that experience too a little bit later. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to Azalea.
Sure. I wasn't sure when I was going to go next, but okay. My name is Azalea. Oh, Don, did you want to say something? Or?
Let's say Robert Ortiz was scheduled to go, but let's go ahead, Azalea. That's fine. You know,
Okay.
yes, that's fine. We're going with the energy, folks. I love it.
Okay, well, my name is Azalea Camacho. I'm the Archivist and Special Collections Librarian at Cal State LA. And I'll just tell you a little bit about our mission and vision and special collections and archives. We really aim to capture the diverse lives and historical narratives reflected in our heavily first-generation student body and the major contributions our communities have made to the dynamic cultures of Southern California. We also really focus on community-driven archives, such as this project, which really aims to empower communities to tell, protect, and share their histories in their own words and terms. And for me, community-driven archives really address the exclusion of historically marginalized groups in the historical record and create a sustainable and accessible model. And I think this project really reflected that mission. I think every special collections and archives has a mission like this, but I think the projects that, especially this project, really reflects that. And I'm really honored to be part of this. And the way this started for me as well is, I think the glue that keeps us together is Dr. Dawn Dennis. She introduced me to LARP and Anthony, and then Project Rebound and Summer and all the folks in Project Rebound. So I'm really grateful and honored to be a collaborative partner with you all. And I'm really excited for growing this project and working with you in the future. And I'm happy that I was able to guide this project as far as, you know, the forms that need to be signed and the archival aspect of preserving these stories. And I'm really looking forward to building and fostering this relationship in the future. I really do feel that with this project, we really do have an impact. And I'm grateful for being part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Azalea. You're so kind. Azalea's going to show us. I've worked with Azalea for almost 6 years, and I just appreciate her authenticity and the fact that we can create everything organically. And so she's going to show us the exhibit in a couple of minutes. I'd like to introduce Robert Ortiz, who is a staff member of Project Rebound and also a veteran. And so when we talk about just the creation of history or just archives in general. Again, like Azalea said, we're focusing on the lived experiences, the narratives that were never preserved and people didn't care about. And Robert's narrative is so powerful. So I want to introduce to you Robert Ortiz, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Ortiz Archila. My gender pronouns are he, him, él. I'm formerly incarcerated, and I served in the military. I served with the Army 82nd Airborne Division as a paratrooper. I've been deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan. I was wounded in combat. When I came home, they gave me a Purple Heart, and I came home and I didn't have a plan. I soon failed to adjust back to civilian life. I found myself wrapped up in addiction, experienced homelessness, and I was incarcerated a number of times. I went from hero to zero in a hot, quick second. And I felt really, really horrible about my condition and how I felt about myself. And I want to change, right? So when my last period of incarceration, when I got out, I was determined to change my life. So I checked myself in a rehab for my addiction, and I enrolled at community college, and I found Project Rebound. And when I went from a homeless person that no one would even let borrow $5, because they were not going to get paid back, those $5. I went from that to earning a degree in aerospace. I earned a degree in liberal studies from Cal State Fullerton. I transferred to Cal State Long Beach, where I'm currently on my second year of grad school. And I graduated into the pandemic. So when I graduated into the pandemic, I was a little worried about what. Yeah, we're getting Zoom bombed.
Hey, Dr. Dennis.
Yes, we're gonna fix that. Let me get him out of here and everything. I apologize for that. I don't know why he was snuck in. So let me go ahead. And let me start kicking them out and everything too. So this is unfortunate, you guys. Let me stop. We got a good picture.
Yeah, yes, Christian, 82nd. I am from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, but I'm actually from Southern California. But my service was at Fort Bragg as a paratrooper. And so when I entered rehab, I didn't quite have a plan. And my counselor over at the VA opened a book. He said, "Hey, you want to go to school?" And the very first program at the top of the list was aerospace. I didn't know what that was, but it sounded good. I was like, I'll just try it. I graduated summa cum laude from that program. And like I was sharing, I graduated, I transferred to Fullerton, where I earned a bachelor's degree with distinction, and then transferred over to Long Beach State. But I graduated into the pandemic. So I didn't know what was here I am with a liberal studies degree, not knowing I can't teach. Everyone in my program would typically, everyone in my program typically goes and teaches elementary school. And because of all my convictions, I couldn't really go into the teaching credential program. So here I am with a liberal studies degree, not knowing what the future holds, where I'm going to do. I was very, very fortunate that our very own Summer Bratner picked me up when I kind of felt like just lost, right? Here I am. I put all this work into this degree, and I couldn't find a job. No, I was just, man, I have a 13 felony record, so it's nothing to be proud of, but that kind of hindered me from getting a job. And Summer had a conversation with me, and she saw something that other people didn't. And I appreciate that. And here I am today, getting ready to start my third year, my graduate program at the SDHE College of Education, Long Beach State, and currently serving as the outreach coordinator for Project Rebound. But here's the kicker. Who would have thought in a million years that I would be able to go and teach at a prison? So I teach at Lancaster State Prison, and I teach at CIW, the California Institute for Women. And it's just amazing, right? The opportunity that Project Rebound has really provided me with. I want to hand it over back to Dr. Dennis. That's my story. I didn't let COVID stop, stopped me in my tracks. So Dr. Dennis, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I apologize for all the Zoom bombers and everything too. That's inappropriate behavior also in chat, but we'll handle it. Again, you know, when we shine and everything, people are going to come for us. So we got this. But anyway, my name is Dr. Dennis. Again, I was your co-host. I was awarded a grant with Azalea Camacho in 2020 during the pandemic, and we were able to really start processing and working with the Mervyn M Dymally collection. And for those that don't know, Mervyn Dymally visited every state prison in the state of California and really was at the forefront for designing.
Very good.
Is there any way we can remove him?
Yeah, we are removing him right now and everything. Sorry about that, guy. This is ridiculous, but we've recorded this though, and so their names and you know, addresses are going to be made available. Yeah, they Zoom bombed us. Okay, do you see the anti-blackness here? Do you see what we're going through? My son just came and I had to give him a teaching moment. But anyway, let's get back to the program. Okay. And so when Azalea and I were awarded this grant, we discovered that Mervyn Dymally, again, in his work with the prisons, the state prison systems and everything, you know, really was at the forefront for what Anthony is describing with the leaders program, with the, you know, passage of bills, with the, you know, paying attention to these narratives. And he interviewed a lot of the, you know, incarcerated men at this time, and their narratives and their letters I started reading in this collection. And so we've just stayed with this good energy. You know, I hooked up with Anthony Garcia and you know, his folks at LARP, and we've just continued to collaborate on this program to really amplify the voices that are often diminished in the archives or not talked about in our history courses, or, you know, just relegated to a back burner. And to really provide space for formerly incarcerated people is really challenging the violence of the carceral state. The notion that the archives can tell us and give us the story and control access to that is what Azalea Camacho and her staff is really dismantling. So again, I'm fortunate to work with such esteemed colleagues like Summer and Jeff Stein, and of course, Sarah Pugash in the history department as we start to develop this collection. Dr. Sarah Pugash came into our exhibit and, you know, really developed the Africa section of our exhibit with her students. And she's going to stay on as an expert, you know, to really help interpret a lot of these primary sources. We were also awarded funding from the American Communities Program to really continue and work with students and have them interpret. Yes, I'm so excited, Sarah, for that. But to actually interpret and work with Azalea even, and really making sure that, you know, Cal State LA, again, supports incarcerated individuals, formerly incarcerated individuals, but the work of Mervyn Dymally. What I'd like to do right now is to, you know, reassess and everything and make sure that we're on the same page. I want us to start looking at the exhibit. So Azalea is going to set up the exhibit as we wait for Lorenzo to come into the room as well. Okay, so thank you guys again for sharing space and being patient with this bad energy that we're seeing. Okay, I appreciate every one of you. Azalea, thank you.
So I also shared the link to the virtual exhibit on the chat. And just so I'll just walk you through some of this. So it's also a work in progress. We're continuing to add to it. But you'll see a little bit about the introduction to the archive, and then the second section leads you to the Public Memory Project archive. So what we've collected so far, including the interviews that, my internet is slow, so I can't play the video. So I don't know, Dr. Dennis, if you want to play some of them, but we do have the interviews here. So if you do want to check them out, you can check them out on your own. We also have, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was going to introduce Jane Bond. She's in our audience.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and her video is with Anthony. So Anthony really spent some time developing the questions and really setting the stage for a lot of these interviews. And Jane is here too, and we'll save some space at the end for him to talk, for her to talk, and also Keela as well. Okay, this is great. Thank you, Azalea.
And then here are all the letters. So if you want to read through some of the letters that have been collected by Project Rebound and that they have digitized, we added them here as well. So there's quite a few. We also added information about Cal State LA Project Rebound, as well as LARP. And then we have an acknowledgements and credits section. So we wanted to make sure to acknowledge everyone who participated, who sent in a letter, and who also did an interview. So you should find your name here, and also the people that were involved in the project. So I invite you to explore this on your own. Just keep in mind that it's also a work in progress. It's a living project that we want to continue to add to it in the future, and also create a space where people can submit their stories if they want to as well. So that would be forthcoming in the future.
Thank you, Azalea, for that. Appreciate that. Just to put it into perspective and everything, when we digitalize stuff, though, we have to have a person for that. When we have an object on, or the materials like a letter on, a repository or in an exhibit, that has to have information. And so Azalea really spent some time organizing this exhibit. And again, it is a work in progress. We want to create additional letters and forms and everything, so people can really, take their own narrative and take control over that and really develop it. So it's a part of our archive as well. Yes, Anthony, like Anthony Garcia says in chat, we're looking to develop more artwork and stories and just letters and everything too. And so, like Azalea said, this is the People's Archive, though. We're here to support you and again, make space in the carceral state for these narratives and these stories to shine. No, I can't wait to talk to you, Jane. I'm excited. But what I wanted to introduce, though, is a gentleman by the name of Lorenzo that was just released from Lancaster State Prison today. And he is here to really share his story about COVID and just the incarceration and just his lived experience. So thank you very much, Lorenzo, for sharing space with us today. I appreciate that. And I apologize for the inappropriate behavior.
Thank you. I was released 8 days ago on Monday. But
Okay.
so yes, my name is Lorenzo Flores. I served 25 years. I was on Lancaster A Yard since 2013. And so I've been in the service. I was a service dog trainer for many years. So when COVID hit, a lot of things went chaotic. You could only imagine, even the dogs were locked down. But they didn't really, the way they went about it was ridiculous. If you were even, they thought you were positive, they would send you and your Sally to like a dungeon and 2 other yards. They would either send you to B yard or C yard. And they would just lock them up in there. The water was cold. They gave them they gave us no disinfectant, nothing, right? People started to not want to go. They were so spooked to go. And if you weren't positive, they would put you with your Sally that was positive, and then put the supposedly ones that were exposed together in the gym on B yard, and then they started getting all sick. So they didn't know what they were doing, and that lasted for a long time. And a lot of people died. I mean, nobody wanted to say that they were sick, so everybody was running around with the dogs or portering or whatever it was, sick. And then people, older people started dying. A friend of mine named Eddie Brewer passed away, and he was ready to get the Innocent Project going because he's been in prison for 40 years and was about to prove his innocence, and he died from COVID. And it really hit us. He was one of my pinnacle partners, and other people died on the yard that we all knew. One of the Cal State guys died on the yard. And to this day now, now that everything's starting to, I guess, freshen up and we could have program, they don't even give us program now. Now it's like we're having the repercussions from it. They give everybody yard like once a week, and if that, it's for like 15 minutes, and then they recall the yard. They've taken away their programs. People are wanting to go to board, and they can't even get these programs. And we hear stories from guys getting transferred to this yard, which is a programming yard. It's a progressive programming facility. they're coming from like Calipatria to come to Cal State, the Cal State program, or for the dog program, or for what it is, and they're still semi-active people, and they're trying to do good. Yet they get to this yard and they lock them down and don't give them the programs that they need to go to board, which is right now is it's a jubilee time. People are going home, and they're really milking it in Lancaster. Lancaster they have a high presence with the union, and they use every excuse to keep us locked down. And self-help there is ridiculous. You know, we used to have every class you could think of, we used to facilitate, and they took all that away. It's still going over there in Lancaster at this moment. And I mean, it's bad. It's just bad.
When you're done, let her know I have something to add.
Okay, Jeff wanted to add something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Dennis. Yeah, this is totally related to what Lorenzo was talking about. So out of the 200 or so letters we've received so far, and we're still receiving them this week too, like half of them came from one facility because of how gnarly the COVID situation was dealt with there. So, and that's CMC in San Luis Obispo. It's basically old National Guard barracks from the World War II that got converted into a penitentiary. The people who wrote from there, like literally is like every other letter we've gotten. And they were basically to summarize it, as of December 2020, there wasn't a single case of COVID there. And then the administration, like Lorenzo was saying, bungled everything. They decided to put them all on lockdown. Instead of being out on the yard, breathing fresh air, getting sunlight, grown men were now stacked 2 or 3 high, 18 inches apart. For, you know, like when you're on bunk status like that, the guards will let like 2, maybe 3 people up to go to the bathroom or shower at a time. Everyone else has to be on their bunk or else. And basically within 2 to 3 weeks of being sardined up like that, 80% of the population there caught COVID, and most of them, it wasn't the gentle version. It was the cold ham to doom grabbing you. And the reports that come in were of, you couldn't even get Tylenol for the fever or Pedialyte for all the, you know, vomiting and whatever else. So it just shows there was an extreme indifference and if not deliberate mismanagement of the whole thing at that level. So I don't know how we can address that later, but that's a topic for a different day.
No, it's not, Jeff. What I found in the Mervyn Dymally archives is the same issues that a lot of you guys are talking about, healthcare issues, just basic humanitarian rights though too. And Mervyn Dymally was, you know, the letters and everything were so vivid in their description that I'm so surprised they got out. And so the work that you're doing amplifies a lot of this continual just disregard for human life and everything. And if anything, this archive, this, you know, focus and amplifying, you know, in history, voices that were never really, you know, taken for, value and everything. I think that's important, Jeff, to highlight, if that makes sense to you, you know?
Yeah. So besides the human aspect
frozen?
of the work we're doing,
okay.
do you think that some of us here could spearhead something where we could get something on a bill or something to the legislature to address this? Ultimately, that I think that would be a pretty rad goal.
I think it is, because I think the archives can provide evidence plus lived experiences and everything too. And the Anthony's organization, LARP, and the leaders are working on a lot of this too. You know, the fact that we're building this archive right now, we're in this space, I think, again, is very innovative though. You know, we don't even think to collect the narratives or even to put into Southern California history, you know, the stories of incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people though. And now we have at the forefront, at the table, individuals that can lead and direct a lot of these bills instead of academics like me that have never been in there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, yeah, Jeff, I am in totally agreement with you and everything. Let me see what the chat is saying and everything. Jorge said he was just released 10 months ago and it was crazy, bananas, he says and everything. Yes, and what Azalea, you know, made this archive for us, this living archive. She put all the videos there, and those videos are so important. If we just look at Southern California history, I'm a board member for the Historical Society of Southern California, and the organization that I'm working with and developing a program really wants to amplify these voices. So this is history. This, these people have made history. They are making and breathing what we would consider history in Southern California, and to deny that, I think is just, problematic in this sense, so, Jorge's video, like Kevin said in chat and everything, is one of those that we can continue. The more that we work on this, Jeff, the better it is. The more stories we collect, the more narratives we can challenge that a lot and use that when we look at legislation. Anthony spoke about that, briefly in the beginning and everything too. Absolutely, he says in chat, absolutely.
Okay, Lorenzo had something he wanted to close with. Thank you, Dr. Dennis.
Welcome.
Yeah, they just made it very uncomfortable for us to even say we were sick. Nobody ever wants to say they're sick because they made it so bad to where they just pretty much take you away and put you in a whole nother place. And it just, they just leave you like, if you die, you die. Pretty much that's how it felt, right? So I mean, it's uncomfortable. They don't want people to say anything. Plus the guards, they're so adamant about us wearing their masks, yet they don't really like to wear their masks. And it's just, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely, someone should like scope it out and just see how they're treating people. And then like now that there's hardly any cases, they're acting like there's many cases, like, they're not getting nothing. So now it's like, we feel like we're being punished for what happened in the past, right? I mean, I got sick bad. And I didn't want to say nothing. And when they tested the whole building, about 90% of us were all positive. And that's when a couple of guys in the building passed away. Even they would say, like, that guy Sam Little, the serial killer, he was in 4 Block, right? They said on the news, he was killed by natural causes, but it was really COVID-19, right? They like to say that guy died from COVID. When that guy dies, they said it was natural causes. So they weren't not trying to bring any attention to the prison.
They're not, Jeff, and that's the importance of this archive that everybody's building, though, is that we can use those narratives to really counter a sanitized version, though, and that's important, though, too, and everything. We're at the forefront, like Anthony and Joe Paul from LARP has said. This last decade and everything, so much work has been done because of you and everybody else, too. The archive will just support that and be that essential tool, I think. So I'm grateful as a board member, the HSSC, but also faculty at Cal State LA, where I have incarcerated people in my classes and everything. I'm grateful for this space, though, to even share space with you guys as you've created this project that I think will be very impactful and everything.
Yeah, I'm surprised they even let those letters out, to tell you the truth.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, and I showed Azalea some of these letters. I, running around like a crazy person in the archives, like, oh my gosh. I mean, they talked about murder. They talked about the Attica. Everything was all there. And I get excited as a historian because I think that's important, because again, it will challenge that record, of Attica, of previous rebellions too. And these letters were very vivid, and I'm grateful. And I had a nightmare, though, that somehow they snatched them up and everything. So hopefully that will never happen, Jeff, but these letters that Azalea has in this collection are just the foundation, if you will, to springboard into other things as well. And we can't censor that, either. And we don't want to ever. And that's why it's important, as a public historian, to make sure that this is included in the Southern California history narrative. It has to be, we can't ignore you. We can't continue to just diminish and cast aside people who spent some, time in prison. My husband spent time in prison. That's just, we can't operate like that, period. I wanted to acknowledge Lauren Levy, who is the executive director of the Historical Society of Southern California. And she is a new executive director with a similar vision that we have, to really amplify voices of people who made history, who are, doing history right now, their lived experiences. So I'm grateful for her support as well, Jeff. I think it's, as we move in these spaces with you as, as obviously a leader, with you and Anthony and Summer, you guys can really change this, I think, so I'm grateful that. I wanted to hear from Jane, though. I can't wait to hear from Jane, and we have some time right now. Azalea dropped in chat already our, our exhibit. It's a living exhibit. We hope to have it, developed more. Okay. We also have Professor G, who is going to be working with Project Rebound to really, you know, amplify a lot more with this project. But Jane, I wanted to hear from you though. You know, what's cooking with you? I like your energy on screen. So make sure I reach out to you while I figure out how to let Taffany in really fast, you know?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. And like, I'm like this, you know, it means a lot, right? When Azalea, right? When she
Yes.
was showing the names and I saw my name there. So yeah, that's not my, my original name, I guess, my state name. It wasn't, it's developed over time because I don't want to be associated with the trauma that's associated with my name, before I changed it to Jane Bond. I felt like I couldn't heal from the past if I kept having to hear my name, and it was very important for me to separate myself from that, and when I seen my name there, it was like, oh, mush, it's like I'm born, it was like I was born, and but yeah, so thank you so much, for that. I don't know, it's just important for me to share my story of, my dissociative identity disorder, because I know that there's a lot more of that. It's just, you get misdiagnosed, oh, you're bipolar, you're problematic. You have trauma that is induced when you're a child. And then you kind of separate your mind does this really miraculous thing and separates you from the trauma, so you don't have to relive it again. And it protects you. And so I think it's really important that that's what I'm trying to do, is put my story out there so that other people can be like, okay, so, because they only have the Hollywood version, like my head's gonna spin around or something, it's just part of my story and who I am, but that doesn't just stop me from, trying to do this, be successful, being in LARP, doing paralegal at LMU, or, being at LBC honor roll student, Dean's List every semester. It doesn't, and it's just, I think that, when we were talking about the prison, people in prison, I was talking to Anthony about this. I think it would be important, like, if you want to have mandatory vaccines, I think that everybody who's sponsored under a government funded insurance, like Medicare or Obamacare, should have mandatory assessment, mental health assessment, because they're coming from trauma, lower economic class. There's a lot of things that are going, their families in prison, or their dad, their mom, and they're experiencing a lot of trauma there in the system. I think that if you get it early enough, then there's no need for alcohol or substance abuse. There's no need for unnecessary medications. You can sustain yourself. You can learn how to have therapy. You can learn how to express yourself in a more positive way. So that's what's up with me.
No, I think that's important. I like your energy. I will work with you later on, especially when we plan our Springs event and everything too. But Azalea asked one of my students to, write down everybody's names, and Azalea and I talked about it, and Azalea was like, it's so important to name names, to give name to the nameless that are in this archive, to honor your own narrative as part of this larger space that we occupy. So Jane, I'm glad that you saw that, and let me know if you change anything or add something.
Well, I definitely want to impact, leave that mark before I leave this earth.
You will.
And you can help me. Yay! No, seriously.
That's cool with Anthony and LARP, whatever, with the wheels fall off and everything. But I like your energy. I think it's very cool.
I like yours too, as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll talk later then. But it is important though that you are there at the table. You are creating your narrative. As a historian, I always argue with my students: who's writing your narrative, people? Who's in charge of that narrative? If you don't know how to research in the archives, you don't know how to read cursive writing, then we're kind of stuck in everything. And I tell my students that every one of you have agency to create this narrative. And I'm grateful that, again, Azalea jumps on projects for me that really, amplify that community building that we want to do, Jane. So I'm very appreciative of you. I wanted to acknowledge Keela. Keela is a Cal State student that is a returning, person as well. She's, part of Project Rebound. And so if Keela is here and she would like to share and speak a little bit, that'd be grateful too. But again, this archive has such potential, you guys, and we want, again, to collaborate and have you again be in this space as we build this, as we write and document, as we research, and again provide tools for every one of us in our community as well. Okay, Keela, are you still with us?
Yes,
I
I'm
wanted to
still
make
here.
sure. Are you?
I'm
Did
still
you want to
here.
say a couple things for me, please? Since you are a student.
Yeah, I can say some things. So first off, hats off to all the guys who go through incarceration. You guys do have a little bit tougher than women do. You know, it's different because the politics in men's prison are totally more harsh than in women's facilities. But yeah, I totally jumped on the bandwagon of doing the COVID story because, you know, I was incarcerated when it first hit, and to be separated from society when you're so ready. I was really on the verge of hitting society. I had hit a transitional program and I had a plan. I was like, I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna be able to work and build, like transition correctly. And then COVID hit. So it kind of like put a halt to all of that. And then I came up positive. I was one of the ones who came up positive. Like I was already on leadership. I was ready in the face to get a job. And when COVID hit, we got put on lockdown and I came up positive, and it was like, wow. And of course, I can relate to all of the women and everybody out there who go through that mental stability, then the mental instability of the traumas from the past. So, you know, being incarcerated and having to go through that, you know, all of my traumas were coming up for me all at one time. So it's just, I still deal with the disassociation of my past, my traumas. I'm trying to separate, you know. I never thought about completely changing my name and starting a whole new identity. It's just something that just came with me, you know. So it was almost as if I just put on I get up and I lace my boots up every morning. I'm not gonna lie, if it wasn't for Project Rebound and the constant encouragement and support, because I'm like that little kid that you got to hold my hand sometimes. Even as a grown woman, you got to constantly say, Keela, what are you doing? You got this, stop tripping, you know. So yeah, the disassociation from having COVID, incarcerated, it was like bad because I had nobody. Like I didn't talk to family like that. Me and my family don't have that type of relationship. So when I really started to build that support with Robert and Summer and everybody in Project Rebound, actually that's really what got me through, you know. So yes, your agencies, your networks, and you know, your grit, those are the things that keep you going, you know. Like you got to build your agency. You got to remember, especially if you've gone through incarceration, you got to remember, like, hell, college should be a cakewalk, but it's really not, because it's a whole different ball game. You got to utilize different survival tools and survival techniques. You know, it's different. You're implementing different, you're basically recreating the whole toolbox. Everything you use for the streets, you can't necessarily use in a college classroom, you know. But yeah, COVID was a hard hit for me. So of course I jumped on to tell my story about COVID, because that's what Project Rebound is about. We want to create a space for people to come and say, hey, everybody's welcome. I don't care. I don't care if you want to be an alien today, you can still be a part of Project Rebound. You know, like we support you in everything that you want to do, you know. And I'm learning that with myself, because I still need that support. You know, I'm not up there, but I just thank God for that network and that agency I have with them. So anything to support them and show them like that love that they've given me, I'm there, you know. So yeah, COVID was a hard hit. So I want to say thank you to Robert and Summer and everybody at Project Rebound, Carlos, that supported me through that, you know, and my incarceration. You know, they encouraged me to pursue a higher education. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, Keela. You're so cool. I just love the fact that you guys are here. I'm so grateful for this space. I want to acknowledge a couple people in the audience: Antoine Carter, Betty Mills, and Louise Magana, who is part of the Leaders Program at LARP. And we're going to be hearing from them hopefully in the spring as we develop an event that really is talking about inflation and what we can do to end you know, again, you know, dismantle and rebuild our state prisons and everything. I also want to honor Professor G, who is my colleague. He and I met at I had met Professor G in LAX, and we started talking about these issues, and we've kind of stayed in contact. And he has recently joined Project Rebound as a mentor, as another resource, if you will, for our students to again dismantle a lot of these barriers. Okay. I would like to also introduce, and this is our final speaker for the night, so thank you guys so much for staying with us as we encounter drama and straight evil with some of the staff and everything. Let's just be very honest, but I wanted to introduce Kevin Gonzalez. He's my colleague, but he's also my friend. He's one that I met when I first started at Cal State LA. I didn't know what I was doing, as a white girl. I'm just on campus vibing and everything, but he was really cool with me, and I believe in him, like everybody else in this audience and everything. So Kevin is going to share his story, and then we're going to close out this event. So again, thank you guys for sharing space with us tonight. Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis. So my name is Kevin Gonzalez. I am Project Rebound staff here at Cal State LA. I'm also an alumni, graduated 2016 here with a sociology degree. I am currently in a grad program of criminology in my first year at Cal State Long Beach. And yeah, I'm formerly incarcerated. I actually was released this past April, so I was incarcerated during the pandemic, when everything hit. So I'll talk about that. So I was in the federal detention center here in LA, MDC, which is right downtown. Everybody knows the Twin Towers, county jail, the old county jail, but right across the street on the other side of the freeway is the federal building, which a lot of people, the past, they don't quite know what it is. So it is the federal facility here in downtown LA. I was there from 2009 till 2019 to 2021. And so, being in there when, watching the news in the unit, it's like we started seeing, okay, things are, something's going on, something's spreading, right? And then, it's like all of a sudden, I think around March, in the beginning of March, people started getting sick. And so we all thought it was, just a cold, right? People were sneezing, people were coughing, but then everybody started getting sick, right? And I started noticing, some of the CEOs that would come in, they would come in and they would be checking their temperature all the time. So it's like, why is this guy always checking his temperature? Like nobody really cares about their temperature, But yeah, sure enough, it came to the point, like literally within a week, 2 weeks, so the units there, they hold about 132 people max. And so it's like, within the amount of between a week and 2 weeks, literally almost everybody was sick, right? I will never forget, they do sick call maybe a couple times a week. One of the nurses, he comes in and so we have to fill out a sick call, right? Like, hey, I'm sick, I need this or I need that. And so we give it to them. This guy had a stack of papers, probably at least 50 papers, right? And he's flipping out. He goes, what's going on? Why is everybody sick? We don't, like they couldn't do anything for us, right? And so finally I got sick, right? And first started off, with a little, sort of like a dry cough, right? A little bit sneezing. But then it hit, right? It hit full force, and it was like the worst headache I ever had in my life, right? I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even lay down. That's how bad this headache hurt. And I remember just like trying to drag myself into the day room to give, a sick call slip to the nurse and ask him, like, do you have anything? And all they had was just like these 2 little yellow pills, or like, like a cold, they call it a cold setup. It's probably just aspirin, right? And literally I lost 6 pounds from one day to the next. We have scales in there. And so I was able to actually, weigh myself. I lost 6 pounds from one day to the next. I was able to overcome it within a couple of days, but, everybody was sick. And so, we didn't know what was going on. We were seeing this stuff on the news. And then they come in one day and they tell us, everybody lock it down, right? Just straight lockdown. And so there we're in 2-man cells. And pretty much that's the way we stayed for almost like the next 6 months, right? And so that was their whole response, right? Because I mean, really nobody knew what was going on, even out in the world and out in prison. But you know, going through it in there, right? If you've done time and you're able to like get up and walk around, you have friends in there, you're able to interact, right? Go to the day room, you're able to walk, you know, and get your food from you know, from the day room. You're able to make phone calls. You're able to, you know, right there they have a small little outdoor rec that we can go outside and get some fresh air, you know. But it's like once you're slammed down into a cell with another person, that's it. You don't come out. You know, you're not coming out. It's like you're getting rearrested again, right? The stress, and the sort of the anxiety, like, okay, like what's gonna happen, you know? So every time you hear keys, it's like you jump up from your bed, you're walking to the door, you're looking around, seeing what's going on, you know, but they don't have anything to tell you, right? And so it's like people are sick in there. If you did get sick, you know, trying to ask for help just was like almost, you know, non-existent, right? There wasn't anything they could do. And so this went on like this, but I think, you know, one of the important parts, right, that Lorenzo touched on was you're comfortable, right? When you're in there, you get comfortable with the people you're around. You know, you have friends, you have people you could talk to, people you can connect with, even though you're, you know, you're away from everyone else outside, right? But even when it comes down to being locked down, you're inside a cell with another person, right? I had a cellie that I lived with inside the cell for 9 months, right? 9 months straight, me and this man lived with each other inside a cell. We came out maybe once or twice a week, you know, and when it came to that, it's like, okay, we're gonna give you 20 minutes. We're letting out, you know, a whole range, which is like 10 cells, maybe at least 20 people. We're gonna give you 20 minutes, and you have that time to either use the phone. There's only 4 phones, or you could take a shower. So it's like you have to choose, right? And depending on who they unlock first, people are running down the stairs trying to get to the phone, right? You're trying to get to the computers if they even let you get on the computers. So it's like, then you're creating this tension, right? Because people want to get on the phone. People are trying to dial, people are trying to call. They can't get through. You haven't heard from your family, right? You haven't heard from your family. You don't know if they're okay out there. You know, they don't know if you're okay. Nobody knows what's going on. And it's just like a very stressful, very chaotic situation, right? And so when being comfortable, right? So then it didn't happen until maybe about November when people started getting sick again. They started letting us out little by little, but they would rotate, right? Called modified program. And then they would start letting out maybe like a whole half a tier, right? So you can come out, right? You have that interaction with people again. You've seen friends, you know, friends that you've had and you've known for all this time. You've been doing time with them, but you haven't seen them because they live on the bottom tier on the other side of the unit, right? You haven't seen this person for months, and you're like, are they okay? Like what's going on, you know? And so in November, this past November, 2020, people started getting sick again. And you know, nobody wanted to say anything, right? Nobody wanted to say anything because first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna slam you down, or they're gonna take you to the hole, right? And so it's like that precious time of us being able to get out and talk. You know, they cut our phone minutes to 5 minutes, and you could only talk maybe a couple times a week, right? For in the amount of time getting out. So it's like you get on the phone with your family, you have to explain to them like, hey, you know, I'm glad to hear from you, and it's like they barely even get to say hello before like the phone hangs up on you. So it's like nobody wants to say like, hey, I'm sick, you know, because then you're going to lose all that again. And so it comes down to, you know, being comfortable where you're at. You know, if you live with somebody, you know, you get along with, it's like, hey, I'm sick, they're going to send me to the hole. You might, you know, they might end up with somebody that you don't get along with, right? And that can go bad real fast. So in November 2020, people started getting sick again. They locked us down, and they came through with the COVID test, right? This is the first time in you know, from March to November that any of us had been tested. They came through, they tested us, they didn't tell us anything. You know, they just started coming, knocking on doors. Hey, pack up all your stuff, pack up all your stuff. It's like, you want me to pack up all my stuff? Oh, you're moving. Yeah. You know, this stuff I've accumulated over a couple of years, right? And I get along with the person that I live with. You know, I don't want to move. I don't want to go anywhere. Why am I moving? Not my Sally moving. You know, he's sick. I'm pretty much sick. But they don't give you any explanation. They don't tell you what's going on. You know, it's like they keep you in the dark purposely. And you're left wondering, right? You're left wondering. You have very limited interaction with anybody else. If you're like in a corner of the unit, you don't get to see what's going on in the day room. So you don't even know if people are coming in, people are leaving. You have no idea what's going on, right? And these conditions are like they are solitary confinement. That's exactly what they are. It's like solitary confinement. And so in November, they're telling people just to pack up their stuff. They don't tell us why, just, hey, you're moving. And so they moved a bunch of us down to another floor, about 30 of us out of almost 120. They didn't tell us why, right? We had to come find out by some lieutenant that was, more cool with us. Oh, you guys got moved because you're negatives. So that means that everybody else, the entire unit minus, 30 people upstairs, were all positive. And then a couple of days later, it was Thanksgiving. And all I can remember on Thanksgiving, right, was, so I'm in a cell by myself. I haven't had a cellie, I managed to make a friend from somebody across the way, right? But I don't see anybody else, right? Some of these people are from other floors because, technically they're negatives as well. And so Thanksgiving morning comes, and I remember them coming and tell us like, oh, you guys might get phone calls today. I haven't had a phone call in like weeks, right? All right, so we have something to look forward to. So then they start coming around. It's like, oh, wait a minute, pack up your stuff again. And so I already had a feeling like, so when I moved into that cell like a week and a half earlier, I just left everything packed up, right? I just got off the stuff that I needed. So everything was already packed up for me. But, instead of, getting that phone call and being able to talk to our family on a holiday, right? Just to let them know, hey, I'm okay. Are you guys okay? It's like, move, pack up your stuff. You're moving again. And so this time, it turned out that I was positive. And so on Thanksgiving, it's like I get moved to another cell. And the only other thing to look forward to on Thanksgiving Day was the meal, right? So for probably a month and a half, they've been giving us literally frozen box lunches. The same box lunch, just like you get cheese, you get peanut butter, you might get some crappy meat, the same crappy cookies, and that's it. The only drink they give you is the milk you might get in the morning with your cereal. Other than that, it's the same food, right? The same box lunch. So on Thanksgiving, we did hear, hey, you're getting a hot meal, you're getting your Thanksgiving meal, right? And so for those of us who have been in prison, those holiday meals are precious. And so, they moved me to this new cell, and I'm thinking like, man, I got like an hour, I got 2 hours to clean this cell. I moved into the cell, and it's like animals lived in there, right? Like the restroom hadn't been cleaned in like who knows how long, right? There was like hair all over the floor, like it was just grimy, it was dirty, and it's like, man, I don't want to have the only hot meal, my Thanksgiving meal, right, in this dirty cell like this. So I literally just like put everything up and took the next 2 hours and scrubbed everything, cleaned everything. And I was like, okay, I got a couple minutes to, I have a little bit of time to shower up. So I shower up, and not too long after, right, they come, they're in a complete hazmat suit. And it's like, they knock on the door, you got to make sure your light's on. They open the door and here, grab one of these styrofoam plates, right? And that was, Thanksgiving meal. I'll never forget that, right? And it's like they had moved me into a cell where there was no window, right? I couldn't see outside. I didn't know what time it was, unless, except for the time when they would walk, right? Or when the meals would come, okay, it's breakfast time, must be in the morning, right? Or it's lunchtime, or it's dinner. And so that didn't last too long. All of us ended up testing positive. So they ended up moving us back up to the original floor we were at. So it's like they were moving all these people around, and it wasn't doing anything. All it was doing was like really just like spreading it, right? And so I remember seeing this elderly gentleman, right? I remember seeing him, and he would always cause problems. He was known for causing problems, right? And he would always get kicked out, bounced around on the floors. I remember the last time I saw him was on that floor, right before they moved us back up, and he was all mad about something, right? And so we hear, a couple of days later, hey, this dude passed away. Like, well, I just saw him like not even a week ago. Like, how did he pass away already? Yeah, he passed away. So I guess he caught COVID. When I looked him up after, after I got out, there was a memorandum about his death. But something else that came to mind, right, was during that time when new people would come in. So this is considered a pretrial building, right? So people are still going to court. You're fighting cases. I don't even want to talk about, not being able to get a hold of your attorney or your lawyer. It's like I had to postpone my court sentencing about over the course of almost 6 months because I couldn't even have access to my attorney, right? I couldn't call him. He couldn't call me. It's like I write a letter. They're not in the office. So it's like, what's going on? And then even that, it's like you can't even show up to court in person, right? It's like I'm trying to appeal to a judge and plead, you know, and talk about me and why, you know, I don't deserve, you know, 10 years for something that, you know, that is really not that serious, right? And when it came down to it, it was a video court, but when new people would come in, right, which was, you know, not that often, what they would do is they would quarantine people for they would say, you know, a month, but it would usually be like 2-3 months. Quarantine them, keep them completely isolated from anybody else, and then they would transition them into, you know, the rest of us, even though we were all still locked down. But I remember that, so the unit that I was in, we're able to talk in the vents, right? Because it's a high-rise building, so you're able to talk on the different floors. I remember, so the women, there's one unit that has women in there, and so they were on top of us, so we were able to talk to, you know, you're able to talk to people on other floors, so you hear what's going on, right? And they had said, oh yeah, one of the ladies up here hung herself, you know, and so what made me think about that is, you know, so we have these people passing away from COVID, right? But there's also these other issues, right? Somebody that's coming in, somebody that just got busted, you know, they're going through all kinds of stuff. They're completely isolated. They might never have done time before. You know, there could be mental issues going on. But, you know, to me, it feels like that could have been preventable, right? Because when you first get busted, you have other people you could talk to, right? You have people, hey, what's going on? Or what can I expect? When you're completely isolated, you know, in situations like this, you don't have that. So people can just, right, you know, go off the edge. And so to me, you know, that was from, you know, the conditions that COVID created. But, you know, they don't really say that, right? So yeah, I mean, I was able to, you know, eventually, you know, everybody gets sick. You know, and once everybody gets sick, they claim a herd immunity. You're able to come out after like 14 days. It's still a modified program, but you have some sort of normalcy, right? As far as, you know, still being in a modified program and lockdown. And then, you know, I was released, you know, in those types of conditions, right? I was released unexpectedly. I didn't think I was going to get out that fast. And coming home, of course, you know, welcoming open arms with Project Rebound. And so, yeah, here I am. But, you know, I think it's just important, you know, what we're doing here with these letters, because these letters are people's ways to say what's going on, right? To share their stories. When otherwise, you know, it's like, you know, for me, writing letters to my family was, you know, the only communication I had for a long time. There was no phone calls, there was no emails, I don't know what was going on. And so some people don't have that, right? Some people don't have that. And this provides a way for them to express themselves. And so, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, for that story and ending us on really what we're supposed to be doing, which is work and amplifying the voices of those that are often unheard. This concludes our program tonight, you guys. I want to be, you know, again, thanking you for sharing space with us, for, you know, supporting the narrative, the project itself. We want you to, you know, participate in this project as well. So look for some updates. You know, we'll catch, you know, your emails and everything later, but look for some updates, look for, you know, just ways in which you can contribute to this growing project and everything. Every one of your voices is so important to this. And Azalea and I are just very honored to, again, share space with you tonight as your co-host. We plan on making more events in the spring, so stay, you know, in touch with us. Anthony, of course, will be updated with everything that we do. We might go to a webinar format so we can prevent some of this unnecessary drama. But again, you know, we got through that and we were able to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, which was, again, amplify and share space with those who are often ignored in history. So my name is Dr. Dennis, and I'm going to say good night to every one of you. Thank you again, Anthony and Kevin and Azalea, our LARP leaders, for sharing space with us. Of course, our Project Rebound members like Jeff and Lorenzo, welcome home. And again, we can't wait to vibe with you and collaborate with you guys in the near future. Thank you guys again so much. We appreciate you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis.
Bye.
All you Project Rebound speakers and all the new people from LARP. Nice to meet you all. Have a good evening.
Nice to meet you too as well. Everybody have a good evening.
Sharon, I love you. I'm so
Thank
glad I
you
saw you.
guys. Thank you for letting
Jane
us
will
share.
be in, I'm gonna be in contact with you soon, Jane.
Okay,
Father
awesome.
Anthony for the email.
Sure.
Nice to meet you
I got
too,
my- I'm
Thank
Jane.
waiting.
you.
Hello.
Bye, Dr. Prakash. Thank you. Jeff,
Bye.
thank you again. Bye,
Have a great-
everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Jirani, for showing up. She's my student, my favorite student. I appreciate that. Raphael, thank you for sharing spaces with us as well. Lorena, I see you. Amalia, thank you again. Jessica, Lauren, thank you. Elia and Velma, thank you guys so much. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you. We appreciate. Thank you, Luis. I'll talk to you guys later. Okay,
Have
I'm
a
gonna
good